So motorsport for me, I'm third generation. So I've been in this industry since I was a tiny baby. I went to a racetrack when I was 2 weeks old, and I'm here still now at, the age that I am. I've grown up in this environment. My sense of humour, anyone that knows me will know that I'm very much dark humour, find the light in everything, find the joke in everything. And it's very, very intense in terms of that way, very witty and fun, but equally to that, it's obviously very pressurised and very competitive. And motorsport does create a personality that needs to be quite harsh, quite sort of closed off in certain times of the weekend, don't show an emotion all the time. So you do have to adapt and make sure your personality does suit the sport you're in. But I do think that as years go on and mental health is mentioned more and more, actually having a variation of different personalities does suit each sport, because we're opening up to accepting different styles of personality and still succeeding in the sport we're in. Sport is hard, it's intense, it's something where performance is necessary, and I think alongside that comes, these stresses outside of the race weekends itself and pressure, and therefore speaking about any worries or, like I keep saying, like pressures around it is really important for each driver and each sports person to talk openly about. I think mental health in the paddock is something that is a topic. It's much more frequent these days than it ever has been. I think Jason Plato did a great thing for us last year where he openly spoke about it. And I think that that's something that we all deal with when our racing career comes to an end. So from my own experience, all my life I was a racing driver, that was my title. And then one day you wake up and you're not competing any longer and you need to find a new identity. And it's all about how you go about that, how you recover from that. Someone like Jason, who is the most successful touring car driver, had the most wins ever, for him to wake up and not be that person on paper anymore would have been very difficult. And I think it was great for us as a little bubble of touring cars, but also for further afield, for someone of that calibre to speak up and say it was a struggle and there were low points, but he got through it and he's now obviously succeeding in a slightly different area, but within the same industry. It's mentioned a hell of a lot more than it was even when I started, and obviously prior to that. Back in the day, it was obviously not spoken about. You just stiff up a lip and you crack on. And I think there's still an element of that, and I think that crosses all sports, because you are in a competitive environment and you don't want to show your hand too much, and you don't want to be seen as someone weak on the competitive side of things. But I think openly, say off track, that topic is around a lot more. And I think that it is becoming much more okay to speak up about it and voice the stresses you have or the issues you have off track without it really hindering your reputation on track. Yeah, so for me, I found it quite difficult to know who I was once I stopped being the racing driver. Obviously, I still compete from time to time, but I'd worked my whole career to get to British touring cars. I then did 3 seasons of that, and then all of a sudden, I went from racing at the highest level I'd done to no racing at all. And to put on a CV or to put on your social media bio or whatever it is, you write who you are and what you do. And at that time, I didn't know anymore because I wasn't competing. So I felt like I couldn't put racing driver, even though I know inside I still am. So there was a crossover period of where I needed to find a new route, and actually becoming part of the ITV punditry team gave me a new identity within the sport that I still love. So there definitely was a roller coaster of emotion of knowing who I was again once I sort of lost that racing driver title. Being a female in motorsport in general, in terms of me being a driver, I don't really have many negatives. You get the odd scenario, but I think a lot of those direct scenarios come from more naivety rather than malice, and those I can manage. The online comments and opinions is probably where I found it most tricky to deal with. That's one thing we have to always manage, is that an opinion is one thing, but malice and nastiness is a different thing. And for me, in my whole career, I don't come from family money. I don't have a family business or anything that could fund my racing. So everything I did was through sponsorship. And the way that I found sponsorship was through social media. I didn't have the budget to have a manager or a PR person, so I was a complete one-man band. So I would wake up in the morning, I'd jump in the race car, I would perform as best I could on that day. I would then get out the car and I would do my social media. So everything you saw from me was me. And so initially that started brilliantly. I was new on the scene. People loved to understand the story. They followed my story through Clios and into touring cars and that kind of stuff, and it was brilliant. And you'd get the odd comment. Once I got to touring cars, debut weekend in British touring cars. Never thought I'd say that, to be honest, but here we are. Can't wait. And the performance I wasn't even happy with, and I can understand that some comments would be made, and I understand that opinions can be had, fine. But to get out of the car knowing you didn't do a job that you were necessarily happy with, and then having to manage your own social media and seeing these comments. First season, fine. Second season, a bit annoying. Third season, you get to the point where you're like, you don't even want to look. You don't want to put a post up because you don't dare see what the comments are. It did get to a point where I didn't want to go on social media, and I would post because I had to, not because I wanted to. And that's where I found out that actually I'm not enjoying that side of it anymore. And even now when people say to me, like, would you still love to race? And I say, absolutely. If someone came to me with a car and a title, sponsorship, whatever, an opportunity, I would give 150% into that driving side of it. There's things I know I need to improve on, things I want to achieve, but the external noise from the outside world became too much of an internal monologue in my own mind. And that's the bit I didn't like, and I don't wish to go back to. So if I was to do this again, I would hire someone to take over my social media, because to me, that side of British touring cars and motorsport is a negative side. So dealing with it was an ongoing thing, and I probably didn't deal with it in the time that I was there. I just sort of ignored it, or I turned all my notifications off on my phone, so I would never get drawn to it. If I wanted to go and see something, I'd have to physically go on the app. I wouldn't get notifications through. I asked friends and family around me to never screenshot stuff and send it to me. So I kind of just shut it off, which is a real shame, because social media got me to British touring cars. And then all of a sudden it became a world that I didn't want to be a part of. And my sense of humour is sarcastic. I'm cheeky. I want to have fun with the fans. I love having a bit of friendly banter with them. And I found myself not being able to do that because of the negative comments that were there, which is a shame for the nice fans, the good fans, because they were missing out. And I've noticed that trend with many of the drivers. Other drivers that used to interact, you don't see them anymore. You don't see them online. The odd comment here or there. And I think that is genuinely down to the fact that no matter what they do, there's a backlash for it. There's a negative tone to it. So it's really not allowing the good fan to really interact with the driver as they used to because of the bad fan. One thing that always stood out to me was the Nicholas Hamilton announcements. Nick races for his own reasons. He's got his own struggles to deal with, as we all know. And I always remember when I was teammates with him, a driver's announcement to say you're racing for the season is generally one of the best days of the year in terms of the excitement for it. Your sponsors get some extra coverage, you get congratulated, that kind of stuff. Nick said to me, it's one of the worst days of the year for him because of the comments that are made online and said about him, said about his disability, said about his results, all of these things. And that really upset me in terms of this driver that works so hard, and he does work hard to get a drive, is being torn down on the first day of announcement. I think the view towards him has changed. I think he's earned his stripes a lot more now. But I do think we need to really take a step back, and everyone needs to recognise what they say online. It is just 9 times out of 10 a jealous opinion. And if you're not brave enough to say it to the person face to face, then don't say it at all. I think my upbringing has done a fantastic job at how my mentality goes towards how I see the world. I was never made to feel like I was a female or a male in a sport. I've played netball, football, car racing. Every sport I could do was never made to feel like, maybe you shouldn't. So credit to my family, first and foremost. But then also as I've grown up, the environments I've been in, I've never allowed myself to be treated any differently. I always go into race teams and I tell them, don't treat me as a female. I might react to certain scenarios slightly differently because I'm female and we work differently, but it's not a weakness, it's not this, it's not that. Treat me as you would. Tell me straight. Don't soften off the data analysis. Tell me if I'm doing something wrong. Tell me where I can improve. I always say being a female in a male-dominated world is a unique selling point. We can do things slightly differently, different sponsors maybe, but it's not an excuse. We're still in a sport and we have to perform at our highest to be able to achieve our best and be given credit for that. Most proud of, I have to say, it is getting to British touring cars. As I've always said, I don't come from money. I came from absolutely nothing, and I've had to earn the money, find the money, get the sponsorship, do my own deals, run my own one-man band or one-woman band myself to get here. So probably that first season where I lined up on the grid and I was part of the British touring cars. Back when I first started, we used to sit in the car, and on our dash we used to have like the quick fit British touring car like board on our dash, and it had our surname on it. And I always remember like sort of sitting on the grid and sort of taking in my scenery and seeing my name on the dash of my own touring car, and having that moment of like, no matter what happens after this, this was what I always wanted to get to. So in some ways I've made that dream a reality. So getting to touring cars is probably my biggest achievement to date. The results after that is another story. But I never thought I would get to this championship. So to get here, not only for one season, but for 3, is probably my proudest moment. I think in terms of mental health, and anyone that is maybe struggling a little bit, the best thing to do is obviously speak up. Whoever you trust in, whoever you feel most comfortable around, you don't need to spill it out all on the table, but just let someone know that you are struggling a little bit. People would always rather hear your story and help you than find out that you were suffering and it's now too late. So for me, I think speaking to someone, whether it be over the phone, text message, in writing, in person, whatever you're feeling more comfortable with, speaking up, saying that you're struggling is your first point, and after that you'll realise that there's plenty of people around you that will help.